And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to them.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the refinement of our mission, objectives, and goals for Husky Robotics 2024 version. So, what's the purpose of the work of this workshop? So, it's for everyone to understand what our overall mission and goals of Husky Robotics are and to refine them for our next season. So, we both want to increase the quality and redefine them if we need based on our previous successes and our previous failures. So why do we do this? It's so that day to day we're working towards a common goal and everyone understands that what they're doing has this broader implication for us as a whole team. So to achieve success as a team, we need to understand what the success means. So, first activity, reflect on our current mission statement. So just read it in your head real quick, um, and then type in the chat which sections are most important to you. Like, what do you think is most important? And maybe even like how it's affected you. So just take like 1 minute to read it, and then type in the chat when you're ready. You can start typing in the chat if you've already read it. Maybe a why of why it's important to you. A lot of people said personal and professional growth, student leaders. Mr. Schultz said impact and outreach, a sustained impact. Okay, that sounds good. We can move on.
All right. So if you remember from last week when we talked about objectives, objectives are kind of like the layer below our mission and vision. And our objectives, we have four objectives. They are maintain and build relationships with the community, strengthen our robotics family, prepare team for the future, and become a world-class robotics team. We are about to go into breakouts. We are going to do a 2 minutes plus one. So you can have 2 minutes in your room, and then the timer is going to start counting down. You'll have 60 seconds to finish up conversations. We're going to do four breakout rooms. Each room, as you can see on the slide, is assigned to a specific objective. So everybody, please make sure that you get on the copy of these slides. If someone could send in the chat again, and click on objectives reflection there. And then you can go through the objectives reflection document. You're going to go to the page for your room. And the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to highlight the sections of the mission or values of which this objective connects. So if I have the objectives maintain and build relationships with the community, I might highlight something in the mission relating to outreach and so on and so forth. Then you want to highlight which part of the objectives fit the team the most and which parts would you replace. Later on, we're going to go through and edit these. So, Mr. Schmidt, are we ready to do breakout rooms?
We are.
Okay.
All right, so you're all going to be assigned to your room number corresponds to what's on the slide here. So, all right. Oh, I'm sorry. How long would you like these open for?
2 + 1.
2 + 1. Got it.
Mhm.
All right, here we go. All right, everyone, welcome back.
All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to take a look at what everybody put down for their, like what part their objective reflects to. So we're going to pick one person from each group to go ahead and share out. So if we can get someone from room one, if you can go ahead, you can just unmute yourself and feel free to talk about what you discussed.
Go ahead, Fatima.
So something we talked about relating to maintaining and building relationships with the community was that like the area where it says fostering of community outreach on a local and global level. And we also talked about the area where it says we strive to sustain a team that is an annual model for fellow teams to emulate while inspiring the future leaders, because it like kind of has to do with like the other FRC teams in that community.
Okay, and now we're going to move on to the second group. If you can want to go ahead and talk.
Ours was like strengthening our robotics family. So one thing we said was including new members, like right from the beginning, and then also being like a role model team for other teams to look up to.
Okay, and now we can move on to room 3. Go ahead, someone from room 3, if you want to share out. Room 3, that looks like Aaron, Addie, Corey, Henry, Janan, and Rishi.
I'll be totally honest. I had trouble joining in. I got into a room partway through, and so I'm not entirely certain what's going on. We had some edit access and couldn't get a ton sustained. There was some stuff said about how there was a lot of improvement on this goal this year. Um, Especially with the new training programs, a lot of certification on the robot side of things, that kind of thing.
Okay, I did just realize that this document did appear to be view only to everyone on the web, so it has been changed to commenting for our next breakout room. We're now going to go down to room 4 and hear from them. Anyone from room 4 want to share out? Alex, Anish, Evie, Lucy, Noga, and Tian.
So we kind of talked about how becoming a world-class robotics team isn't just having a high ranking in terms of like numbers, like being top 8 in the world, but also including the whole impact award thing and the amount of community service and how you give back to the community and inspire the next generation. Kind of like how we were talking about in our mission statement. And at the end, before we left, we started talking about how teams that do really good in impact and on the field, what values do you see at competition from them?
Awesome. So now that we've done a little bit of reflecting on our past objectives, we are now going to do some refining on our past objectives. So we've now switched up groups. Everyone is going to be in the same breakout room. And this time you're going to be assigned a different objective. So if you're in room 1, you're no longer working with maintain and build relationships with the community. You're now on prepare team for the future. So you are going to, keeping in mind the notes from the last group, it seems like not many because we did have some edit access issues, but now everybody should be able to comment on that document. So try putting in some suggestions. What do you think could change about this section to better align with our mission and values? And then if there's nothing to change, discuss how it connects so well with our mission and values that there's nothing to change. So Mr. Schmidt, can we do a 4+1 breakout?
Absolutely. Here we go.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome back, everyone.
All right, it looks like group 1. Are you ready to share out or should we come back to you? It looks like people are still typing.
This is group 3 right here.
Yeah, thank you. Group 3. Are you still typing or are you ready to share out?
The core of it we can share out. We don't have
All right.
fine details yet.
That's okay. Go ahead. We can hear what you have.
So the biggest issue we found with this is that we very much like everything that it's saying, but we would like it to be a bit more specific, not too much so. We don't want it to get wordy or difficult to read, but we want to acknowledge more specifically that FLL is our major contributor to this goal and perhaps make it and also make it quantifiable in a way that isn't winning the impact award. Because while that's great and an excellent metric of whether or not we're connecting with the community well, only one team per competition can win the impact award. So we need another way to measure whether or not we're being successful in that. And we're leaning towards number of teams mentored at the moment.
Awesome. Now can we hear from, this would be group 4, who is working on the strengthening our robotics family?
So we never actually got to rewrite anything, but we did talk about some changes that could be made to it. So adding a more specific line about encouraging diversity in our team and inviting people of diverse backgrounds would help strengthen our robotics family because it adds perspectives and stuff like that. But a big part that is currently in it is investing in our members' personal and professional growth, which helps us grow as leaders and people in general, which can help us be just better people and in a group, especially.
Awesome. Thank you. Now let's hear from group 3, who is talking about preparing team for the future. Yeah, go ahead.
So we also didn't really get to making any changes, but we wanted to kind of make it a little bit more specific about our team because we kind of talk about fostering of community outreach and local and global level. But I think it's important to also bring in the aspect of specifically to our team, how we want to sustain it and how we want to use communication to sustain it in the future.
Awesome. Now let's hear from, this would be room 2, working on become a world-class robotics team.
So our breakout room mentioned a couple things. We're thinking of impact award and then implementing and adopting methodologies that world-class teams used. We decided to look more towards adopting methodologies that world class teams use because we could be a little more specific about it. So making changes during preseason, like I guess what I'm doing right now, like adopting top down design, of course, making documentation so that in future years people can use it again, look at it, and know what to do.
Awesome, thank you. Now I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Lodum.
Alrighty. So, we're going to kind of transition away from our objectives discussion and more to our goals. So, our goals, are under each of our objectives. You have specific, tangible, SMART goals, which we'll get into later. Um, but for now, you need to know about this percentage of achievement, which you'll be using in your next breakout room. Percentage of achievement is can be something that's either 0, 100, 200. It can be pretty much anything. Um, so for example, I will spend an hour in the gym 4 days each week. You could do 100% of that. You can only do 3 hours a week. You could only do an hour, but for 3 days a week. All of those can be different percentages that you personally assign. This is a great way to quantitatively compare how much we completed each of our goals. Some of these will be 0, and some of these will just be 100% because we did it. But others, like EPA at each competition, can be like Heartland 150 and Johnson over 200%. We doubled our goal. Um, so next. Okay, so we're now going to be splitting off into breakout rooms. Again, I think it's going to be your first one you looked at for objectives. You're going to go on this document, and there's going to be a table in each tab, and you're going to discuss with your team on how much we achieved this goal. So this is a 5+1, but for some teams this may not take 5 minutes. Um, if if you want and you're done, but you have some time left, you can add some comments on like Google Docs. Aaron,
Pardon me, but this is on the objectives reflection document, yes?
this is on the goals reflection document. That is a separate document that is linked from the original slides we
Okay.
put in the chat.
Thank you.
In the chat now.
Are we good to go?
Yeah, 5+1.
All right, here we go. All right, welcome back, everybody.
Alrighty. So we can go through each room. Hopefully you picked a representative. Let's start with room one. You can quickly go through how you rated and explain some of your scores.
So for the first one, we said 100% because we think that goal is met. Like we think most of the community members our community members are like active and have at least 8 service hours. And then for the third one, we said 75% because I don't think all mentors like went at least once a week. Like I know I didn't go at least once a week. I went every other week, but I think each mentor was still pretty involved with the team they were mentoring.
Alrighty, great. Yeah, I like these rankings. Um, let's head over to group two, strengthening robotics family.
Okay. We did do our Husky Olympics, but I'm not sure if it was documented or not. probably just because I'm not in business, but that's why we gave like 60% because we're just not sure. And then make sure no one is sitting alone. We gave 90% because we said it needs like accountability. We need someone like making sure that no one's sitting alone. But other than that, we've been doing pretty good about that. And then for finding a sub team they enjoy, we obviously haven't done like a Google form like, hey, do you like the sub team that you're on? But I think we give enough opportunities that people have probably found sub teams that they enjoy. And then we think that the leadership team does model the team values really well. And then I don't think we've done any team value moments, but so that's why I put a 0%.
Alrighty. Some good things, some improvements, some documentation as always. Let's transition over to group three, prepare the team for the future.
There's pretty standard scores here. The ones that we are sure we have completed are listed as 100%. The ones that we know are certainly in progress, but either had exceptions where we needed to divert from them for a bit, or haven't totally been finished, are at 75. I, excuse me, do have a question for anyone else who has insight on the Vex transition. We didn't have
Yeah.
anyone in our group with knowledge on it.
Um, I would rate that 100%. We are no longer reliant on there.
All right. And then on the retention thing, last year was, I know for my sub team definitely, but I think it goes for many of us, a notoriously bad retention year. I would note that it is drastically improved this year, and we will not be having this discussion, assuming all stays the same through build season, when this time rolls around next year. But since it's based on last year, it was not good.
Hmm. Yeah, I really like these rankings. I think we have a lot to improve on. Already in group four now, become a world-class robotics team.
Okay, so for the first three, they're very binary and very apparent. So like qualifying for the World Championship, we obviously did that. We did not win the Midwest Regional. We did win the Heartland Regional though. Having no major failures in qualification or finals matches, we put that as 0 because that also seems like a binary thing. And we unfortunately did fail a couple of times on the field. We didn't win any impact or any entry inspiration awards this year, so that's a 0. We put 75% as posting weekly Open Alliance posts because um, I think we posted consistently up to week 8. I didn't really check after that, but it seemed like everything was relatively good. But this year it's more organized, so hopefully that will improve. And then we put 80% for building a robot that meets our design requirements, mostly because our design requirements changed most of the way through the year. So we can't put that at 100%.
Already. Definitely things to strive for on the competitiveness aspect. So, we're going to go now into a similar thing that we did for objectives. We're gonna be refining our goals. Um, and so we're gonna have to identify what goals we want to repeat, which ones are like realistic, and I think most importantly, which ones will have to change. Um, we'll talk about SMART goals in a bit. Um, and you're gonna need to identify new ones. Um, that the previous team either commented or look at the rankings and how we did. These shouldn't all be things that we achieved this past season. They should be things that were just outside of our reach to always like push our team forward. So, Ian, do you want to touch more deeply on SMART goals?
Yeah, so just to review, SMART goals stand for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So what we have with that is we have our specific, which means that our goals must be as detailed as possible, ensuring that we do not leave any room for misinterpretation. Um, this aspect of the goal must answer the who, what, when, where, why, and especially the why. Um, the measurable piece of the goal means that we must be able to like quantify our goal, so actually put numbers to it. And then attainability are the goals that we have to be able to accomplish by coming together and maximizing all aspects of our team. So this means that the goal must be difficult enough to push us as a team while also making the goal realistic enough to complete. These goals must be relevant, which means that they must align with our mission and values, allowing us to maximize our success as a team. Finally, the time-based aspect of our goals means that we must set short-term and long-term deadlines. This means that we could aim to have 50% of our goal achieved by a certain date. For example, we did this for the Heartland Regional this past year, and then 100% of our goal done by, for example, Worlds or by a certain date. So next, we have our not measurable versus measurable. So here are some examples of the measurable versus non-measurable goals. So one non-measurable goal could be that we will have better training. A problem with that is that is that our goal is not specific enough and does not have a time frame for when it must be completed. We also have to ask ourselves the question of how we're going to quantify completion after reviewing our goal at the end of last season. So a SMART goal that could replace the goal of having better training could be each member knows 5 essential skills by the end of preseason. This goal is far better because it is in the present tense, allowing us to properly reflect when it's completed, and it's measurable because we're able to put a percentage of completion on this goal. For example, 1 out of 5 would be 20%. And then like if 3 people completed the goal, we'd be at 60%. And then another non-measurable goal that we have is that we will have a lot of outreach events this year. This goal is way too general and doesn't fit the guidelines of the SMART goal in any way. A replacement um, could be we will run an outreach event every month. This goal is measurable and specific because it can be tracked once a month and it's very straightforward and understandable. It's easy to apply percentages to because one outreach event every 2 months would be a 50% completion, while 2 outreach events every 1 month would be 200%. Um, could we move forward to the next slide? Sorry. Um, sorry, my Zoom wasn't updating. So next we have in a little bit, you guys are going to enter a breakout room where you'll be discussing and defining our goals and objectives for this upcoming year. You can ask yourselves the following questions in order to create an aid in the creation of these goals. So for specific, you can ask, what exactly are we doing? Can you add more details? For measurability, you can ask, looking back at this year, how will we know if we completed it? And is it easy to tell what 50% done would be, 100% and 200%? Attainability, you can ask, what have we accomplished in previous years that shows that we can accomplish the goal this year? And then for relevancy, we have how does it align with our objectives? Time-based, when should this be fully complete and what needs to be done to stay on track? And then try to state deadlines and frequency and dates.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about crucial influence 6 sources to influence being like proactive with our objectives. And so we can think of each objective as a vital behavior, so something that we like need to get done now. And we want to use these 6 sources as we complete those objectives. So like for example, there's like motivation at the personal, social, and structural level, as well as ability at the personal, social, and structural level. So we want to include those 6 sources as we try to obtain our objectives. So, some examples that we pulled from last year's goals. The first one is 80% of the team members on our team have at least 8 service hours, and our entire team has a median of 11 hours by our first competition. So, this demonstrates structural motivation because it shows like rewarding behavior. Like people are going to want to get those service hours out of the way. So another example is host a team bonding event during a meeting and note down the level of success. So this demonstrates structural ability because it prompts like us to have physical proximity and build on our team bonding. So yeah, and then our next and final example is have sub-team standardization that can be navigated by a new member by the end of the next season, next preseason. And so this shows social ability because it allows people to get help and it's accessible to them at any time. Okay, so now we're going to put you guys in breakout rooms and we want you to refine our past goals. So, room 3 will be working on maintaining and building relationships with the community. Room 4, strengthen our robotics family. Room 1, prepare team for the future. And room 2 is going to work on building a world-class robotics team. So you're going to copy the goals that we want you to repeat from last year and then come up with new goals for this year and always like make sure that they're SMART goals. And then also once you're done with that, comment which sources of influence each goal is focusing on and try to have at least 3 different sources for each of the influences. And you can always like use the slides that we just went through to help you with that. In this breakout
Long,
room,
Ariana?
7 plus 1.
plus 1?
Yep.
Got it. All right.
Make sure
Here we
make sure you
Oh,
pick someone to share out. Pick someone different than has been talking all night.
okay, here we go. All right, welcome back, everyone.
All right. Oh, you got it, Ariana.
Okay. So we're gonna have each breakout room share out. Are we starting with breakout 2?
Yeah, so this is going to be breakout room 3 is going to be going first.
Breakout room 3.
So we just kind of made a couple of tweaks with like wording. Like we had said for number 2, invite all district communities, parents, and mentors, and for that. And then we said that then to run it a couple of weeks before our first regional, just so that we could leave room to maybe set a date for when we should send that invite out. And then we did not really get around to doing the sources of influence for all of them, but for the first one, we had said it was probably social motivation and personal motivation, but we didn't really get around to doing the rest of them.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right, now we're gonna work on
Group 4, breakout room 4.
Yeah, I think breakout room 4.
Okay. I can touch on this a little bit. We mainly focused on the first goal, as that one we found that we kind of saw the most issues with. So the original one was host a team bonding event during a meeting and note down the level of success. So we kind of changed it to host a team bonding event during a meeting and note down the level of success, which is the same. But especially during preseason to increase communication amongst members and build our family prior to the start of build season to ensure inclusivity of especially new members. So when we go into build season with like a stronger community. And I know that we've been doing Husky Olympics for the past few years, but maybe changing it up and doing something more whole team focused and not in smaller groups can also be a different outlook to it. And then we just kind of edited the second one to include like kind of the reason for it, which is including new members.
I like that idea. Thank you. We're going to move on to
Group one.
breakout room.
Okay. So we kind of just made like a few changes to the previous goals because we thought that they were pretty good. And so for the first one, our first goal was we changed it to throughout the season to throughout the year, because even when we're not in build season, it's still important to have people like certified and stuff. And then for the last one, we also changed it to throughout the year because we want to retain members even in the summertime and even when we're not in build season. And then we just added specifics to technical and leadership workshops because it wasn't specific enough. So we said 7, but that number could always be changed depending on what we want.
Thank you. You made some good points. All right, and then we're going to move on to group 2, right?
Yep, you're right.
They ran out of time for identifying sources of influences, it seems.
Breakout room 2, Anwita, Braden, Dritri, Elizabeth, Kate, and Ajay.
Okay, I can talk about this. I think for having no major failures in qualification final matches, it feels very binary and like, oh, once we have a failure, then oh, we can't achieve this goal anymore. But I think we can make it more of like a range, and also maybe specifying having no electrical or having no mechanical failures. And then we were talking about like how Aaron was saying earlier with the impact award. Maybe we should define our impact goal not by winning the impact award, but by something else, such as we influence like 10,000 people to have an interest in engineering and robotics. And then, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you everyone for sharing. I'm going to go back to the slides. And then for our upcoming leadership workshops will be next year in the fall of 2025. So now is the time to apply all of the wonderful things you guys learned to your actions on Husky Robotics.
Yeah, so thank you all for participating tonight. Just so everybody has kind of an idea of what's going to happen next, sometime in the future, probably before build season, us captains are going to take a look at all the feedback that we got from the share outs, the messages in chat, all the documents that we made together, and then we're going to take that and we're going to come to consensus and basically make some edits to our vision, mission, objectives, and goals to have a more complete version ready for next year. So thank you all for tonight, and remember to fill out the Keep Fix Try for all of the workshops.
All right, huge thank you to the captains. Thanks for facilitating this evening. Please do check out the Keep Fix Try. Again, as Franklin just said, certainly about this session, but and any of the previous sessions as well. We really value your feedback. So thank you everyone for joining us this year. Like I said, plenty of time now to practice these things. And we'll see everyone in a week or so. Thanks, everybody.